just blow on it.
So hi, you guys.
I'll help you.
Hey.
Well, as
Get away,
Kristen
get
said, my
away,
name is
get away. I
Bethany.
think it's a real butterfly. So just make it.
We live here in Austin.
Move
We've
it
been here
around
for,
and stop.
gosh, almost like 10 years. Oh, closer to the mic. Thank you. So we've been here for about 10 years, and the first time I came to Austin, I fell in love with it. It's a beautiful place to raise children and settle down and start a family. So I was diagnosed with stage 3A melanoma in August 2016. And I wasn't really surprised about my diagnosis because my mom had melanoma at my age. So for me, I felt like it was my genetic timer just kind of like going off. So I grew up in the 80s. I'm going to be 40 this year. So it's, you know, back then sunscreen wasn't really the best. You know, like as a kid, you know, you'd come home, you get the occasional sunburn. And, you know, things happen. It's not the end of the free world. But I was always very cautious about the sun. While all my girlfriends were tanning and laying out, I was sitting in the shade wearing sunscreen or swimming laps in the pool. So I had a spot on my forehead that looked kind of like, just like a big old liver spot. It didn't have a lot of the things that melanoma looks like. It looked kind of like, just like one of my freckles, except it was like huge. And it covered this area on my face. And so I wasn't particularly concerned about it. I went to get my skin check when my youngest daughter was about 9 months old with this big old spot on my forehead. And my dermatologist was like, well, when did that show up? And I was like, well, I was pregnant. And I was like, well, I guess it's hormones. And she's like, yep, it's hormones. And I'm like, great, she's like, I'll see you in a year. You look good. I'm like, good. So a little over a year later, that funny spot grew a mole. And the mole started to hurt. And I was like, this isn't right. And I talked to my mom about it, who's also a skin cancer survivor. And she's like, Bethany, this isn't right. And I was like, all right, well, I guess it's time for me to go get it checked out. So I went back to my dermatologist and I said to her, you know, this isn't right. And she's like, you know what, it's not. But I'm not gonna take this biopsy. I'm gonna send you to a plastic surgeon to do it. So
Hi, Mom.
I go to see my baby. I go to see my plastic surgeon, and he takes a cut. It's my first of many, many cuts. And he says, I'll see you and I'll call you when I get the results. And I said, great. And about 3 weeks later, I got a phone call from him. And he said, are you sitting down? And then I was like, yeah, I'll sit down. And so he says to me, I'm sorry the biopsy took so long. It was something we've never seen before, or we haven't seen in a while. It's called, what I have is called desmoplastic melanoma. That's what the mole was in the center of my little liver spot. And on the exterior of my liver spot was melanoma. He's like, you've got two different types, desmoplastic melanoma and regular melanoma. And he said, well, we're gonna have to start scheduling surgery. We're going to have to do a skin graft. That's what this cute little mark here is. And we're gonna take a piece of skin from your thigh and stick it on your forehead. And so that's what we did. I had 2 surgeries on my face to remove the cancer. I also had a lymph node removed from right over here. And unfortunately, after all the biopsies and stuff and all the testing was done, it turns out my lymph node tested positive for melanoma, so that put me at stage 3A. I was lucky. The melanoma did not travel anywhere into my neck or brain, thank goodness. But that still puts me at a point where I need to undergo treatment because of the recurrence rate is so high. I think it's like, I'm not gonna throw numbers at y'all because I don't wanna make a mistake. So, yeah, the recurrence rate is really high, and so that's why we go into treatment. And I'll be in treatment for the next 3 years. So I did a hard push of treatment, which is, I think it was 4 infusions over about 12 weeks. And then I'm gonna be getting infusions every 3 months for the next 3 years. Also, I've done radiation on one side of my face to possibly zap at all of the melanoma where the melanoma could have traveled in my body. So, but what got me, us cancer patients, we go through a lot of really terrible stuff, and at the end of it, once we come out, we're sort of left with this weird shell, it's like we're sort of a very distorted reflection of what we once were. And, what at least has gotten me through all of this, I'm gonna try not to cry here, what's gotten me through all of this and all of this trauma and all of these, surgeries and treatments and whatever has been my little girls. Luciana over there, who's 5, and Arabella, who's 3. They're the most brilliant little human beings I've ever met. And they make going through all of this totally worth it. Every radiation zap and every infusion I see it as a way to buy time. I'm doing this in exchange for time with them. And so I can be present for them. Let me go back to my notes now. Hang on. Sorry, y'all. This is my first time doing this, so I'm sorry if it's terrible. Let's see. So I finished my heart push of immunotherapy, and now I'm just in the maintenance part, so I get to have my life back a little bit. My side effects aren't terrible. They're weird, but nothing to write home about. So after the surgery on my face, I felt really overwhelmed with all of the change. I wasn't having fun surgery. I wasn't getting my body fixed up after having babies or anything. I wasn't getting a tummy tuck or, a nose job or anything like that. It was more I had a giant gouge of flesh cut from my forehead and then another piece of flesh stuck there. So it was kind of gross, And I thought to myself, how am I supposed to handle this? How do I tell all my friends and family? And also, what are things going to be like hanging out with friends and family, right when I see them? Do I have to go through, my entire medical history and give them, the update? And then, a lot of the times that bums people out, So I was like, well, what am I supposed to do? How do I handle this huge change? And I thought about it for a really long time. And then I said, you know what, I'm just gonna put myself out there. I don't care, whatever. So I started an album on Facebook called My Melanoma Photo Diary. And I've documented my entire journey. So I started from the beginning with before pictures and after pictures and really gory and bloody during pictures. And pictures of just regular momming stuff, going places with my kids and coping with treatment while taking care of 2 very rambunctious and innocent children. So, okay, but yeah, it was just, selfishly, I did my album just so I didn't have to do the medical updates. So I didn't have to tell people, oh yes, today I'm feeling this, and then my last blood work was that. And it's very boring. Nobody wants to hear about that, really. They just want to know that you're okay. So, and also it gives me a chance to be present for friends and family and do things with friends and family that's just with them and has nothing to do with, my melanoma or any of that, right? So that's how I got connected with the Shade Project. And Kristen found me on Facebook, and she's like, we need to get together. You're a survivor, and I'm a survivor, and let's talk. And I was like, she was the first other skin cancer person I'd ever met. And I felt so lucky, and it's gonna sound really silly, I feel really blessed to have met everyone at the Shade Project because they've given me a lot of really nice drive. They actually helped me get back into swimming, which is great, because I'm an avid swimmer, and before all this started, I was swimming quite a bit, and I had to stop for a bit. And so the part of the reason why I feel so passionate about the Shade Project is because their message is very similar to my own. Their thing is they're preventing and educating people about skin cancer. Mine is what I have to tell you guys is the one thing that's most important, and this is my message, is please listen to your bodies and pay attention to the changes it makes. And that's it. Thank you guys.